Hi, I'm Jack Savoretti, and you're watching Proyan Seido. So I've always had a very strong connection with Greece since I was a kid. I came here for the first time when I was about 17. I was backpacking across Europe with 4 friends of mine from the States, and we got so lost traveling all these different islands, getting off on the wrong island. But for some reason I had this idea that I would come to Greece and I'd be able to speak the language, I'd be able to understand everybody. Because my relationship with Greeks up until that point, they reminded me a lot of Italians, like the expression says, una faccia, una razza. So I just assumed that I'd come to Greece and understand everything. I was very mistaken, but we had one of the best trips of our lives. It was one of those sort of summers coming of age. So Greece was an important part of my coming of age. The first time I sort of left home, traveling as a young kid, Greece was my first destination. So it's amazing to be back here now. Greece is one of the few countries for me where the music invited me to then come here in person. So I'm very grateful to Greece for that.
Because I know that I'll be coming home soon.
I'm not really a singles artist, a song artist. Like, the song is part of a bigger story. The album is what's really important to me. It's like writing a book, it's like making a movie, like making a film. I like to think of all the songs as different characters. This particular movie, this album, Miss Italia, I don't know what kind of a movie it would be. I think it would be a coming-of-age movie again. This album was written... I've always loved Italian music. I've always been addicted to Italian music. I grew up with Italian music. Even in my previous albums, which are all in English, you can hear a lot of Italian influence in it. But my father passed away 2.5 years ago, and he was my anchor to my Italian roots. If I thought of Italy, I thought of my father. If I thought of my father, I thought of Italy. So when he passed away, it was the first time I truly experienced grief. And grief is not psychological, it's not emotional, it's physical. It's a physical pain, it's a physical feeling. And the only way that I could sort of deal with it was listening to Italian music, singing Italian songs. It just made me feel closer to my father, it made me feel like his presence, which helped a lot. So I decided I really wanted to learn how to write in Italian. The happiest time of my life? Well, I have 3 children, so it's hard for me to choose one of those moments. I've had 3 amazing moments. I don't know, happiness is just a moment. So I value happiness, of course, but it's not what I live for. I live for meaning. Happiness is just a moment. It comes and it goes. I wish you were born with experience, you know, and a human born with experience would be a superhero, because you would understand the value and the meaning of the purpose of here and now. And I wish I understood with all of my children much earlier on how meaningful their relationship towards me is and my relationship towards theirs. Speaking of my children, like now I get to relive a lot of my childhood memories with them. Watching cartoons, watching movies. And we were watching a movie recently, the one we were just talking about before, Sister Act 2. And my kids love it. And it was really strange, because while we were watching it, I basically said to them, this is the reason Papa sings. And they thought that was very funny. And there's a scene, I was very shy when I was a kid. Still am sometimes, but I can be very loud as well. But I was very quiet when I was a young kid, and there's a character in this film, he's also quite quiet, and then he sings this beautiful song, Happy Days, amazing gospel song, and his voice comes out. And I was on a school trip once, and I just started singing, it was when Sister Act 2 was a big movie, and I started singing Oh Happy Days, this gospel song. And some of my friends were like, oh man, you can sing, that's pretty cool. So it was quite funny, and I was telling them this story, and my children found this hilarious. They thought it was very funny. I remember I was about 15 when I wrote one of my first songs, 14 or 15. And it was a tough time for my mother. My parents were getting divorced. And I remember she was in the kitchen making dinner, and I just went into the kitchen and played her a song. And she completely broke down. Not in a sad way, I mean, in an emotional way, but it was a really lovely moment. We were laughing, we were crying and laughing, and it was all because of this song, this little moment of music that I just did with the guitar. And that was the first time I really realized this is magic. Music is magic. So I that wasn't a performance. I was just sharing my song. So that's what I try to always, I don't think about that moment, but that's what I try to do every night here, is share songs, stories, emotions, feelings, not perform. I'm not a great performer, but I like to share a lot. It's not like when you're on radio or if you're selling albums or whatever, that's amazing, but it's numbers. You can't really make sense of it. When you tour, you can smell people, you can see people, you can touch them, you can hear them, and that's amazing. That's quite an incredibly unique. You can't buy that in a shop. That feeling is really hard to find. Trust me, I've tried to buy it elsewhere. My message to my Greek audience is, don't change because I love you guys right now. No, change, evolve, do what you have to do. But please, keep inviting me back because I love coming to this country more and more and more.